Hey everyone, welcome to today's video. Welcome to the Gaming Daddy channel. From the thumbnail, you already see that I want to look for trouble. So let's get into this, okay? Now, one of the reasons I decided to title this video, Stop Frontin', You'll Still Buy a Division 3, is because a conversation kind of stirred up yesterday between me and a longtime buddy of mine here on the Division 2. He's the one who told me to go on Twitter and start following the division much more and gaining more information. His gamer tag is XC the Stars X, and he is basically a hardcore grinder division player. Now, one of the really interesting things that we talked about that spanned through our very lengthy conversation on Twitter, it was mostly private messages, was that we are in a position where the Division 2 is such a wonderful concept, but is in the hand of bad management. And I do not disagree about that. If you guys have actually been following my videos, I have gone after the people who are in charge of this massive development team. I don't think Hamish or Bruce or all the other guys on the lower level on the decision-making totem are necessarily the culprits. There are developers that are basically directors of a game. They have the vision, they sail the ship where it needs to go, and they are the captains of the ship and they bear the responsibility. But a lot of times we don't see them. So it's easy to point fingers at maybe the people who are doing environmental design, the guy that's shading the wall over there, that's building the staircase in your summit or the elevator or whatever it is. Those are usually the people that find themselves on the forefront and in some case, the onslaught barrage of complaints from the community. I don't think they're your people to blame. If they're people that you want to hold accountable, they will be the leadership structure of Massive, and especially the people who have directed the Division 2 to where it is right now. But the conversation stemmed to other game developers and other publishers who, on the other hand, unlike Ubisoft's business model, they take their time to develop their video games and they actually go ahead and delay or do what's necessary to make sure that the game is in a solid position. Example being CD Projekt Red for Cyberpunk 2077. Now, let's do a little kind of a huge inventory on the time and kind of the moves that CD Projekt Red's own leaders took to start development of that game. First of all, they took out a grant from the Polish government in order for them to make this game with a delivery date somewhere in 2020. Now, many might think, well, it's a government grant, maybe they needed money or whatever. I think there was probably something more than that. And this is me speculating from a more advantageous or strategic perspective, which is if you have a government grant, the government is the government of your country who basically wants you as a big software company to do well. So they'll be willing to work with you until you've got the product done to the best possible aspect until you can then release it. On the other hand, you're not having to deal with external forces like shareholders and other kinds of things, or a publisher who may say, I don't care what you guys are having or what technical difficulties you're having, ship the game, we'll fix it as it goes on. I guarantee you that somewhere, somehow that has happened. And so I think these things have happened in the past in gaming, and that people have lost a lot of trust in the gaming scene. But CD Projekt Red took that approach, and I feel like it's going to pay off because they've been able to take their time, and they know that this game not only represents what quality gaming is, it represents their studio, it represents a national pride thing that they probably have, and they want to really do everything right because they've signed a contractual agreement with the government of the nation that they operate primarily in. So all those standards and all of those things have helped CD Projekt Red. Other than the fact that they're already an amazing studio, I think this has added another layer of amazingness to it. Now look at other studios like EA and Ubisoft, where they have very amazing IPs. They have very, intensive and very well built stories, lores, and, intellectual properties. But at the end of the day, they usually find themselves in a place where they pump out shallow games. You can always tell that the business model of both companies or both categories of companies in this regard, I'm talking CD Projekt Red, I'm talking Rockstar, talking maybe Warner Brothers Games, some of their IPs in that sense, versus say EA, where they've actually thrown games like Mass Effect out the window, where they've used FIFA just to grab cash, and they basically almost ruined the Star Wars name. You can somewhat tell that these two different categories of companies have different business strategies, and one of them seems to be very grabby for the cash, whereas the other category is more about legacy and making very good and solid games that will last for basically a decade or more in terms of how resounding that game is. GTA 5 is basically going to launch into the new console generation as we await GTA 6. And, you know, if you look at it from that perspective. Now, Cyberpunk 2077, I think, is that game that wants to sit at the table with games of that caliber and games of that polish, or I would say games of that magnitude. Then we have The Division 2, a wonderful concept in the hands of a publisher that is pretty much in a position that they mainly pump out their games very fast. It's an amazing feat nonetheless. I don't know how they do it, because those games are very challenging to actually make. They just, you know, push it out the window and the games are in the market almost like clockwork. Assassin's Creed games are just flowing out the window. It's like you can't sleep and wake up every 48 months or every 24 months. Sorry, you already have an Assassin's Creed game ready to go and ready to ship out the door. And I think this business model is playing itself in The Division and basically affecting the entirety of the franchise. And that is what we're seeing. This is, in my opinion, a bold statement, but you are dealing with a problem that is very, very deep at the root of just simple development issues or simple bugs in a game. You're dealing with a conglomerate, a company that is just out there in order to constantly pump out their IPs to make games. In that sense, it will help you know exactly where you are and exactly what it is you want to get out of a Division game. And I think this reality is exactly why many people feel disenfranchised from the Division game. They came in with the mindset that we're going to grind this game in Destiny style fashion, or we're going to grind this game close to GTA style fashion because the game just has a lot of things that are pulling our heartstrings. But then at the end of the day, whoever is behind calling the shots is not interested in that longevity or long-term, phenomena that is called this game or this franchise. And that is just where we are. That is the unfortunate truth. And so when I say you're going to buy a Division 3, it's because many people are going to come to terms with this, not because they don't understand the intricacies, not because, as other people will say, it's gamers like you that continue making, these people pump out games. That's not the case. I mean, the heads of Ubisoft aren't going to come back one day and say, we're not going to make an Assassin's Creed game. It's not going to happen. You're probably looking at the next few decades, and Assassin's Creed games might still be coming out unless somebody else will come and take on Ubisoft and buy the company and take it in a whole different direction. But right now, they have a different business model. They have a different way of doing things, and that's exactly where it is. So, as a gamer, what are you going to do? Are you going to make up your mind, close your wallet, and never ever patronize the franchise? Or are you going to say, I understand that no game is perfect, and I enjoy this franchise. It's basically the only franchise that I pay, but I still am willing to give it a shot and give it a chance. Perhaps I might find something that I like in a new Division game. And whether you find yourself in in one option or the other, I think it will still boil down to the fact that you're still watching Division videos, still talking about the game. You still have a desire to see the game become better or see a better version of the game. I think that already is enough, and it's already telling that you do like the game. It's just that reconciling the love-hate relationship that we have for this game is what the challenge really is. It's unfortunate. It's where we find ourselves. And some of us are just in a place where we understand that it's not perfect, but at the same time, we're not going to lose sleep over it. Anyways, let me hear your thoughts in the comment section. You're going to buy Division 3? Be careful with your answers. I'll be taking screenshots. Peace.